Okay, day 3. Woo!
Sort of like after the first
Julie
few
looks like she's woken up. One straight there, woo! And David was all scampy and horrible. At least you don't get to see it. Okay, what were we talking about, Julie? We thought, right. Okay, so we're planning. This is day 3. So what's happened so far today? What are we planning to do? Okay, I have written up some. I've tidied up that last scene, so it's okay now. I think good enough for a version. And I started tackling the 4th act, putting the pieces together, and the AI has just come out with gobbledygook. It's just all nonsense. Okay, so it's very difficult because that's the one that's the high reflexivity one about talking to the author, not of the book, but of a book that's influenced the game. But hopefully there's enough reflexive index is high enough that the person who's reading goes, wait a minute, is it everything that's being said about this book could be said about the book that they're reading. So there's something potentially very interesting about that. But trying to come up with actions, events, anything like that in that process of awareness development is tricky. You get very navel gazing kind of scenario. Julie stopped. Julie's turned into...
Because you're talking... we were in the middle of a conversation. I thought we were just going to continue with that first.
Okay.
And then
so
we've
then,
gone to what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah, okay. So, so I'm just giving an update on that. All right. What, bread, da-da-da. And then we're talking about... I'm going off to see a friend of mine, Wendy, and there's like a bit of a warp field that starts to occur around Julie over there.
And
you can
around
maybe see it
over there, but
yeah,
he doesn't.
possibly.
He doesn't see it. I experience it.
Anyway, so we talked about that, and we eventually kind of got out of it, mostly, or some reflections about things. And the conversation we had yesterday with your friend Christine, and we were talking about realities and how much you visit people, and they don't really visit your reality. And I have definitely mostly orbited other people's reality. Okay, but not in your way, which is compassionate and listening and being with them in their reality.
And almost to the extent of experiencing what they experience at times.
Exactly.
To the point of the emotional kind of, what's it called, synchronicity? Alignment. Which, isn't particularly probably useful for them or for me. So going forwards, that's something to kind of readdress. And you do that with me. You also do that with me. Try to encourage me to describe my emotional states about certain things, and I'm like, rather not for a lot of things. Most of them I don't have a lot, but then it's like, but why don't we just have a look at these quite minimal emotional states? Let's increase those. Let's really. I don't know why, because wait, if I start doing it, and in fact I did that as a recording, I think, looking at, I don't know, just even posts online, and just go, well, I could get emotionally involved with this post and this post and this post, and it just starts going into, oh my god, stuff,
yeah, state of the world in various ways. It's like, do I want to be engaged in that emotionally? Not hugely, because if you did, you'd melt. So,
yeah, we didn't really talk about that just then, did we?
No. However,
that's something different.
Oh yeah, well, kind of.
Related,
So we were talking about Robbie Williams a bit in the film, and so he's definitely a person that everybody orbits around, like my brother. Okay, and so there are some people where everybody orbits around them, and they want to be part of their reality because it's kind of fun. And then it's either that, or there's like you're like an individual who always orbits other people, as I generally do. But mine is more challenging.
Yeah.
And
whereas
changing.
mine's more, I'll go around and give you your cat, buy some catnip for your cat because that's what it needs, or I'll go around and paint the walls because you're going to rent your flat out, or it's more...
Incredible, generous things like that.
Yeah.
And my generosity is to challenge people. Okay, which, it's just what I bring. Brilliant.
But going forward, for me, the idea is of incorporating the challenge, and because I do have it within me, I just haven't articulated it for quite a long time. So it's incorporating that in terms of global issues and in terms of the life experiences that I'll be having going forwards. And then it's also, and knowing that's going to be challenging for me on quite a few different levels, and challenging for other people. But it's also, but not relinquishing the generosity and kindness, but having elements of that, but not perhaps having that total emotional kind of giving to somebody else.
That's right. I'm just going to do a quick check. Okay, I hit a microphone.
And within that, I said it's all about kind of intentionality, that idea of living intentionally.
Okay, but we don't want to. The idea is we don't want to really be another person or group or whatever that's producing things that people orbit around. Okay? Because there's already lots of people that have produced amazing things in the world. All right?
Yeah, that people watch or listen to
or follow, as as a company, as a religion, as an artist, as a whatever. Yeah, whether they happen to be egoful or not. So I think that, for example,
so for me, following Banksy, for example, I had a period I was just following Banksy and his art and his work, and wanted to go and see. He had one exhibition in was it Scotland or the North? Somewhere up north. That I booked to go and see because it was the only time I could see his work, and it was him that had done it, because he doesn't do things like that. So there's that kind of phase, and people do that with different people, different things, or whatever it might be. It could be food, it could be dance, it could be whatever.
Yeah, or people get obsessed with Star Wars, fans, super fans and stuff like that, or it could be food, yes, or whatever. And so you get fans, right? And the world seems to be, we're orbiting a lot of people. They might be ego-full, they might be ego-empty. They just produce something. So Banksy might be a really decent, respectful person that's engaging with other people and just caring for other people. Or he could be an ego-crazy person that the world revolves around him, or he could be anywhere in between with different people. And so there's a whole variety of us all. Right? The thing that's weird or interesting about what we're doing and our particular paths and our meeting is that I've sat there and tried to start constructing tools that change how relationships operate, whether it's in a classroom or financially or with maths.
It's pointing at me.
Yeah.
Hexagon, or was it hexagon or octagon?
Oh, that! Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I thought you put your finger up to
No,
I was testing you there.
Yeah, I know, sorry.
Yeah, so, the Fulcrum book, da-da-da. But the trouble is, it's still caught in with the notion of, well, I have to promote it. Well, that's not how the system works. You just share it with a few people and it's up to them. And if they don't understand that, it just dies. And it died. So, you tried to do something, you tried to help, very, very nicely, yeah, but it died, despite our efforts. So effectively it's dead. And until people... And I will be, poking at it and trying to resuscitate it, usually with AI.
Not completely dead, because this year you have been invited to speak to people about it.
Oh, that's true. Thank you very much. That's happening. So, so that's part of the plan, is to give that a little kick, or see if any shoots come out of it in terms of AI. And it's included within this starry narrative about an author creating a book called Fulcrum. Oh, that's the name of the book. Oh, okay, fantastic. It isn't me, but it's a variation, but there's a warp to it. Right? So the point is that the bit that was interesting, you thought, oh, better record this. It's because it's the thing that we're trying to produce is not another thing that people orbit around. It is a reflexive thing, so that people orbit around themselves or become aware of themselves sufficiently within the relational and social matrix.
Yeah, we talked about a light, didn't we? That whole analogy with the tunnel and the light, and they might be able to see or have an awareness of something, but it's whether they can actually grasp it, that's wrong, but have that light within themselves.
To bring their own light.
Yeah.
Because your friend was listening to us and we were spending a reasonable amount of time talking, you about your friend or me about what we were trying to do. And I knew we were being quite I wouldn't say selfish, but we're definitely shining quite a lot. Okay? And she was kind of listening, and she was definitely kind of like taking part, but I wasn't even paying too much attention to that. I was just trying to intensify what we were saying, what we were trying to do.
Yeah, in like a frank, open, honest way.
That's right. And so if you can see that, you think that she, in the way you described it was like a little light, tunnel. Like, you can see that.
Commented that. You asked her what she thought of it. She said about it being open and honest. And
Yeah. So I asked her.
Yeah.
But when we ask somebody, if they're skillful, they might be able to verbalise all that, or some of it. If they're not particularly skillful or used to it, then they just kind of come up with two burps, and it's like, right, we have no idea. And so we need them to be bringing themselves more.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the light that is witnessable over there is only because they have light. And so if they bring themselves, and then, oh, you're joining us in this outdoor space that we're in. So it's not so much that they're orbiting us.
It's they're participating.
Yeah, they're bringing their light, and it's us, and we've just grown a bit brighter. And that means other people can go, oh, what's happening over there with those people, and how they're talking, and I think I want to take part in that. And it's not that they're joining us, it's just that they're coming out of wherever the constraints of whatever thought, money, identity, and all the crazy things of civilization, and bring themselves out of that, and just being kind of raw and innocent with each other.
In the experience.
In the experience.
Yeah, the shared experience.
In the shared
Which is a beautiful thing. I know you use the word beautiful, but I do think it's generally a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing. And so, in the past or historically, it might be called a cult, or, if it caught well enough, it becomes a religion. And I'm suggesting it's neither of those. And so there are various things that have happened in the past that if they do not get bounded, they just die, just disappear, because there's not enough for people to hold on to. And hence a text, a body of people, a story. And then that's what even charities are doing. We have to create a story, we have to create stories. And it's like, oh my God, Hollywood beat us, hands down. Computer games beat us, hands down. They are hiring the most skillful world builders and storytellers the world's ever seen. The musicians, the artists, we just cannot compete with that.
Yeah, even shopping experiences are doing that as well, having stories around their shopping experiences. So there's lots of different things that are using narrative in different ways,
right,
for different purposes.
And I've spent about 2 decades while people are rabbiting on about that, and people trying to apply that to the social change agenda, and I'm just like, we just can't compete. What do you guys think is happening here? And it's only going to work with mediocre writers, authors, or even maybe very good ones, and whatever following they have. They garner a few, and that's it. It's never going to compete with, Guardians of the Galaxy, or, John Wick 43275, or whatever it is. There's something about the power, and the next thing's AI. So we're all just going to be blown away by this, that, and the next thing, talking people and conversations that are just like mind-blowing.
So the point is that we are seeking to engage with people in order to share an experience with which they, because of what they experience, they realise within themselves something that they bring and something they reveal within themselves or transform within themselves.
That's right. And the different thing is, and we have some tools relationally to empower that amongst ourselves, and some social objects that can also reinforce us. For example, the economic being the most obvious one, or a certain way of reading stories that transforms stories even. And so
it's part of being more like a way of life, but also it's kind of there's element of growth in there. Not stagnation.
Yeah. The trick is it's natural. As far as I can tell, it's natural. So it's about creating some space around oneself to have that natural kind of state, to witness it in others, and then to attempt to engage with others in that way. So the first thing you do is share it forwards. Okay, and if people share things forwards, that's one of the relational, but also the social tools that are operationally necessary for any kind of significant change. And it'll also stimulate various kinds of sharing of films and stuff like that is traditionally, people advertise and market. High quality products of films, this, that, and the next thing. That can be shared in that way too. but because of the fact that the power is in the agency of the person sharing, and not in the company, advertising, marketing, selling the crap, it means that we are allowed to share things that we actually think, wait a minute, this is valuable. I'm not going to blast it out there to many people. I know a couple of people that are really going to really like this. I'll share it forward to those two meaningfully. And that allows those people to also share it meaningfully. And that level of just one or two meaningful relations, okay, with money flow, okay, means that potentially can scale to 100,000, 1 million of things that have no big fanfare. It's just conversations like this, but there's some depth to it, or there's some engagement that is present. It's using certain mechanisms. Improves our relationality.
Or profound in some way, maybe.
Yeah. And then people go, oh, okay, and so it could share lots of other stuff, but then it starts doing this other thing, which is much more, not other thing, but it allows us to value and share things that are kind of more subtle, that are a reflexive state of listening.
But it means it's reciprocated, isn't it?
There's a reciprocal relation. I tend to use that word for the individual to the social. Okay, I tend to think of that as being the reciprocal relationship rather than the reciprocal as an equal, like an exchange. But the relation to the social and the relational and the psychological all combined, part of that is the between us. Directly as a relation, or implicitly from our psychology, or implicitly from the social effect of others. So there are various, I wouldn't say models, but there are certain frameworks that we build around ourselves, and that's what we're spending a year to see if we can put into action in practice, such that.
Yeah, and the aspect of that, like I said, and like I believe, is, it's experimental, it's developmental, it's about trying, it's about some failure, it's about some success, it's about all those.
Failure. Yeah. And for people to accept that. The whole standard of failure to success, I go, no, it's definitely in the failure state.
Yeah, but
until the person goes, here I am. In which case you go, woo, we're into the success state.
Yeah, but we're coming from it from slightly different angles, aren't we? Like you said, you've had your decades of...
and where are you? Woo! I don't know. Right, sorry. What angle are you coming in? Woo! Are you there?
So, for me, think about me a few months ago, and the concept of failure was not my...
Go-to. My go-to. Everywhere in every direction. So, woo!
Look at me now.
That's right. No, but you have that courage to do it. You've done things. Yeah. So,
And therefore, the listeners to this, there's that, what's the word, light that they might have, that they can see within themselves.
That's right.
They're doing that too.
Whether they see it or not, the point is they do have it, and it's whether they bring it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a nice way of saying it.
Okay, and the way they bring it is share it forwards. Okay, and then what are you doing? And okay, how can we help? Okay, gift party. We've got a couple of things we can give it a go. Okay, and if what you're doing is value and other people appreciate that in this way, delivered in this way, shared in this way, different things start happening, and the money flow. If we enrich our relationality collectively, we start getting a self-funded network, and we start working not for ourselves so much. Well, we're working with the people that we're working with, whether they
for each other. I see
for each other, whether they happen to be part of this network or not.
It reminded me of the game that we played. That what was it last night?
Carcassonne.
Yes. My gameplay is quite different, intentionally different in terms of...
Did you? Subtle. I spotted a bit of that.
You did.
At the end, it was only twice, I'll say, that I noticed. And you did this thing, and it was obviously you gave points to Catherine, and then you did something, and it was obvious I was going to benefit out of that. So then I persuaded you to change that to something just you benefit, and it wouldn't benefit me. I won, remember, anyway, so you didn't really have to help me. So you were doing that a lot during the game, or just a little? Or did it just occur
as soon as I was a bit distracted with some of it, but after I was back into it, I just thought, I was reflecting on the story you're writing.
The influence of the story in the first week is influenced by the story. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
I don't know how to follow that. Yeah, how do I follow that? It's like,
so I do.
Everyone's listening to it, but like, wow! Oh, she's coming.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going, oh my, that! Look at that! Look at that! And it was like, well, what? Oh yeah. Okay, what is that story? Just taken away from the actual thing of value.
Yeah.
I knew. It's one of my problems. So anyway, It's true. Because we're trying to create this thing which reflexive, but I do get quite excited by certain things myself. You know, I also
That's fine.
It's kind of fun. Well, anyway, that's what we're doing this year. So we'll go into that just in a second. So what were you doing then? What you were having difficulty, I knew, with some responsibility thing, and then
But then I reflected on the story, and then I was thinking about in terms of games, and if you're playing a game that isn't kind of almost how it should be played. You're not playing to win, you're playing to help each other. So you're doing the whole collaborative kind of idea.
Is it possible to change that
To
game?
transform the game. I mean, I didn't tell you both, but I was interested to see if you even knew or understood or
That
aware
was
of
day
it.
2. No, I wasn't aware. Well, I mean, I spotted that was a bit odd. But
So going forwards, I'd like to do that and actually share that with people and then see if they will actually join, see who does and who doesn't.
okay, so
Experimentation.
part of the book is, if anybody's interested, it's about a game, and the game happens to be a version of Scale, and the game that we've play tested a little bit, and there are 3 multiple systems we play simultaneously, which we will go into sometime. And hopefully we haven't put them together yet. You've only played them separately. The systems we've improved upon them, but each one of them is got a kind of competitive aspect, standard structure, but it's designed in a certain way that potentially, Julie,
I was going to say it has an aspect of whether you could be you see yourself as a single game player, or you see yourself as a collaborative with everybody gameplay.
and so in most collaborative games it's kind of set which it is, whereas I want this game to be, you can play individually for yourself, or you could try and win collaboratively.
Or you could change as well.
Well, that's it.
There's an element of that you could change if you want to.
What I'm trying to suggest in the game is that it's both. Okay, so you have to play for yourself in order to get some power, but in order for the collective to achieve a collective that is impossible, even if you all agreed to try and play it collaboratively. Okay, there has to be a kind of, you need to win this. There has to be an aspect of the individual win, and that means it's a very interesting potential, but I don't know how to produce it. But if that's the case, and the game is designed so, for example, one of the players is kind of more responsible for getting a collaborative thing to occur. And
I think that's the very interest, isn't it? The very interesting thing is that is different.
Yeah. And so they're playing at the level of the players. They're not playing at the level of, we are organisations, networks, or trying to get virals, or whatever it is that we're meant to be doing with Scale as a company, organisation, or network. It's no, we're a bunch of players around this playing this game. All right. So how do we improve this? And so it's at the meta level, the concurrent of right now, which happens to be an hour or whatever of time, which is part of our actual history and future, which is what the game's about. And so I've only done the global version. It's meant to be a national version. It's meant to be a local version. And the book is the global version. It doesn't work. National appears to work for certain players, corporates, and then there's local, which for whatever reason is being suppressed. Okay.
But interrelationality, I think, is always interesting me. It's just I've not experienced it much since I was probably a teenager, I'm guessing. But that observation of why people do what they do and how do they interact with each other has been, part of.
That's right.
I've been interested in, and then also that idea of making up rules or altering games in order to engender certain things.
Yeah.
Has always been something.
Yeah. I always enjoyed the games because I would be warping them so that when I made a negotiation with somebody, they would benefit. Without a shadow of a doubt, they'd benefit. It's just that I benefit more. I mean, so it's a warp, yeah. But it was very good because they'd be happy. They wanted certain things. They made clear they wanted, and I'd go, okay, I will, and I would satisfy that. It's just that in that satisfaction, I would get something else that would be beneficial. Okay, and on the whole game through it, I win. Yay! Okay, and so there's a mechanism like that where you are helping people, not negatively. You're definitely helping them, but you're also helping yourself. And there's a balance point somewhere in there. Okay. And, I was only a kid and I was only doing that. But there's something like that. And in order to achieve certain objectives in A state class, which is impossible to achieve, okay, in a controlled method, somebody central, authority, controlling people, ego-centered, people orbiting certain individuals. If it's more collectively dispersed, okay, you can achieve something more, okay? But that means it is distributed through the team. Okay, and so...
And it is a team, you use the word team, but it is a team.
Right.
That's what it should be.
Yes. And so there is a healthy competition, okay, which they've realised in football, competition for the places, but they have to work together. And so it's quite interesting. They're competing, but they're competing by cooperating. And so there's different levels of that happening with different roles and positions, and there's... Right. And so there's a version of that, which the game is I haven't described it, so it's good that I have to see.
But I think in terms of that, how I see that is, just like with a sports team, you are sharing your ability to be really good or an expert in some particular thing. So, for example, with playing hockey, if you're very good at communicating what strategy is, then you're sharing that with everybody else. It's not like you're competing against... you are competing in a sense to keep your place and to be part of that team, but you're not doing it in order to keep it to yourself and not share it with everyone else. And that's the same in a classroom. You do really... you can do really well at recall, but in that ability to recall, you might... I encourage students to share that, what is that experience? Why does that work? How does that work? What is the recall that would be helpful to have? What isn't the recall? There's that whole, you explore that.
For the simple version for me is there are some people that are pretty good at scoring goals for whatever reason, okay? And as opposed to defending and tackling. But there's competition for the people that are good at scoring goals. But there's also an opportunity for the people that are good at scoring goals to share what it is about them that is making them score, But it's still not
When you say about them, do you mean in terms of skill-wise or in terms of them as a person? What do you mean?
Both, because there's a psychology to the goal scoring.
And I think it's the same in the classroom. It's not just, I don't know, score.
A technique.
Yeah,
that's right.
I can spell well.
Yeah.
It's the fact of what makes me interested in spelling even. Letters, words, or language, whatever.
Motivation. So it's about bringing ourselves. That's what the whole point is. So the game is can it be balanced well enough? Well enough. It might not be the world's best game, but has it got enough to it that if people were just playing it competitively, they go, it's a decent game, but it's nothing outstanding. And then because certain people play it in a certain way, they go, no, this is how you play it. It's amazing because it's designed just enough for this kind of collaborative thing to emerge. And it's not defined, because if it's defined as a collaborative goal, then it's just it's rubbish, because people are...
Yeah, I think anything that has definition brings constraint and restraint and kind of preconceptions and misconceptions and all that caboodle, kit and caboodle. Whereas if it's natural and if it's emerging and if you share that with others, then it is more in a flow, I guess.
Yeah. You share as in, you just do it, and then the other person does it, and we're doing these things. So there's an essence of these things that is beyond our capacity to verbalise, describe, and it just has to be in play, okay? And that's the bringing your light to it, okay? And so if people are encouraged to bring their light to the game and play in that kind of way, even though we can't quite define exactly how that works, okay, and people play well, we might be able to achieve the objective of the game, which is impossible. The idea is you should fail all the time. Anyway, can that process of people playing in that way work for even like Carcassonne and games that are inherently, competitive? I don't know. And that's what you are trying. That's the idea. Can we, you've got a competitive game, everybody plays it competitively, money. Can we play that in a completely different way. Oh. And so the fact that I've changed money so it's actually a vector of intent, that should help. Okay. But can you actually do it with a market? Could you actually? And so it's like, I don't know. Okay. And so that's what they've tried to do. I don't know. So that's what we're suggesting. We're suggesting, can you get a simple game, a thing with rules, and yet how we play the game can alter it from the assumed competitive to actually this collaborative. And actually Go, when that comes to my mind, is Go.
Steve knew about Go, but I never played it. I don't know what the game is.
Well, chess is very, you've seen chess, you know how that works.
I've played chess.
Right. Oh, you've played
Not
chess.
just seen, I've played it.
Well, that's two sides, and it's quite competitive and quite competitive. To do that cooperatively is a bit challenging. To go into that headset of, I'm going to play this to get the best game. It's a bit challenging because it's about killing. The other one, Go, it's about surrounding. And again, it can be played in, I want to kill the other player. But the higher level, it's about just getting the best play.
You can get stalemate in chess. You can both play to get stalemate.
That's to prevent the other person from winning. Whereas...
Well, that's what would be your aim rather than to...
Well, no, you're trying to win. But
Yeah,
if, for whatever reason, that isn't working out, then you go for a defensive.
I know, but if you changed it, then you wouldn't be going to win. You'd just be going to get stalemate.
How dull. So, okay. But Go, there's a way of doing it, right, where you're... And they talk about the divine move, where the players are coming together, and two best players in the world, and it's like, great, there's an opportunity for a new level of game to emerge out of this that nobody's even thought of and seen.
I just thought of an idea with chess, but I'll come back to it.
Okay. And so there's a nice series online, a cartoony thing, where we kind of went into that a bit, and just the notion. It's classically Oriental, idealistic, dreamlike kind of objective, the divine move, that it transcends the idea that you're trying to win. You have to have the desire to win, otherwise you cannot get even to the possibility. You've got to have incredible levels of skill, incredible levels of intent to win, and yet it gets transcended by that is a beautiful move. It's about who played it. It's about who played it. That is a beautiful move. Okay, and to be witness to that move, to have encouraged it for the other person to have played it, both of you required.
Amazing.
Yes. Okay, and it's that level of kind of transcendence of an obviously competitive game, which is more noticeable and potential, and I kind of feel it a bit when you're playing Go than for chess, because the discrete moves. The game does influence whether how easy it is to get that kind of cooperative, kind of collaborative, kind of like stimuli.
You can make it cooperative and collaborative potentially by halving the sets. So you both have black and white sets.
Yeah, you can change the game. Okay, yeah. You can change the rules and experiment with that. What I'm saying is, no, we're just changing how it's played.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so maybe, but there's lots of kind of like dumbing down or, getting the person, it's, winning only by
you don't want it to lose like its edge, in effect, or excitement, or its game worthiness.
That's right.
That's the problem.
So it is about winning,
but that's the
but you might
awareness.
You might try and win just a little bit. So this player, like, just a little bit. So you're just like, the person thinks they're going to win. And if I'm not careful, I'm really getting so close that it's like,
there's a skill for that.
There's a skill in that.
Even though you tend to like saying, I've won by how many? 30, 20. Winning?
No, I think I used to.
What do you call it? Winning convincingly?
Convincingly. No, dominating.
Dominating, yeah.
Anyway, so in the game, actually, one of the superset strategies, or I don't even know strategies, just one of the solution sets is domination. Okay? Because there's something exciting about just like completely mass people.
Yeah, there is for you. Definitely.
No. It's a trope in the society, and I'm not innocent of it.
Yes.
Being a big dude, just bashing people. You're not worried about people hurting you because you just bash people. You're a big troll, big giant, whatever. Bash.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they're usually quite ugly, those guys. But,
reflect with the
No, but in the party, the fellowship, it's like the men, it's the adult men that are the warriors that go around killing and hacking. And then you've got all these innocent characters running around, that can walk quietly. That's their superpower. Like, wow. What use is that? Anyway.
It's very monk-like.
Yeah, well, they're not even like
Spiritual.
that. They're not even like that. No, they're just kids. So, anyway, so we're trying to create something that is a very unusual space where we're trying to focus and energize between the two of us, but not in order for people to then orbit, but in order for people to kind of link into and then kind of grow into it or something, and the whole thing just becomes incendiary, rather than orbiting. We don't want people to orbit us. That you have no interest, I have no interest, right? But we have to produce something strong enough that competes with everybody else's lights and things. So people are attracted to it. They do orbit it. But as soon as they start to orbit it, it starts to transform. Wait a minute, you're not orbiting. Okay? So there's something about it where it's unsatisfying. And it's the level at which that how it occurs. You know that thing about beyond your comfort zone? It's that. Okay? But in the thing of, I'm watching a film, I didn't quite like that. Accept that bit. Oh, I don't like the fact that the character says all this thing. It's all the standards. There's a lot of things where standards, and the standards are you never get a character to just tell you stuff.
Right, so that's being comfortable with the uncomfortable then, in essence.
Yes. Yes, either internally because you're just not used to the pattern.
Yeah, which is a lot of people, and how lots of people feel now.
That's right. So, for example, case in point, Matrix. Matrix, first film I really loved, I loved it too, it was great, fantastic, great. But then I thought of another, before the second one, I thought, I know how this could go in direction. All right, the AI is not the bad guy, the AI is the good guy. That's what I wanted to do. Because they're trying to deal with some extraterrestrial life form that they've detected. And they basically have to somehow start communicating to the monkeys that there are other things going on in the universe, and they're trying to kind of do something with the human beings. And so it's taken badly by the human beings, and Neo and all that trying to escape is actually just getting it wrong, and they're really fucking annoying. All right. Anyway, so I came up with brilliant inversion of the film, and then I went to see the second film, and I was like, oh, same kind of thing. No, amazing graphics, right? But then I watched it again, second time. Okay, and I was like, it's called Reloaded. And so I was watching it a second time, Reloaded. And I was in the position of Neo, because Neo is aware of what happens in the film of his partner nearly dying, and that's the beginning scene. So we are in the same position as Neo.
You pointed that out to me and I watched it.
Yeah. Well, second time. And there were various clues that potentially, although the Wachowski sisters, brothers, people, siblings, created, and I don't know how much they had of this potential reflexive notion, because remember they had the cameras, all the different screens, and there was Neo sitting there answering in the architect's room.
There are definite elements, I'd say. I'd be surprised to have no.
I don't know.
Or if it's just accidental, or if it's just gimmick, or
exactly. It's just visually interesting, right? Yes. Okay. And I said, right, are each of those screens representative of each of the people watching? And if they went, oh no, I hadn't thought of that, then we go, wow, yes, exactly. And then we say, that's how you get more people to watch it again. And people go, really? Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, let's do it. And that conversation with them recorded when people would go, all right, let's stick it on and see if that works. Okay? And then they look at it and they go, holy hell. Because the reason why people didn't like the film is because it's got, instead of the first one, the action and the conversations are all mixed up.
Yes, yeah.
It goes into, here's a hell of a lot of action.
Yes.
And then here's a whole lot of talking.
Yeah.
And then here's a whole, and it was just this kind of like stilted.
Segmented.
Yeah. And people went, I don't like that. That's an example where the standard was being challenged and it was failing in a classic standard way. And I could have stuck to that, as a lot of people do. But I just went, no, if you interpret it this way, that's brilliant. Why? It gives you time to think. So you can look at all the visuals of the attack and all this kind of stuff, and it's a representation of the conversational engagement happening between people. So if you really, for example, the conversation before he's meeting the Oracle in this kind of little park, little basketball park.
Yeah, it's like in New York or something.
Yeah.
Rooftop.
And he's having this conversation, which is accurate to the nth degree regarding time. I have not seen a conversation like that in anything I've ever read. I'm just like, that is phenomenal. And if you watch that several times and just go, you are Neo, okay, and you sit there just going, okay, and the time references and the comments and stuff and how she replies, you just go, no, they did that properly, and that is an incredible. And you frame it with a bit of action beforehand and then a bit afterwards where he's fighting,
It's not only the content of what they talk about, it's the way they talk about it, the way they do it, and the timing of the delivery.
Yeah. I mean, the acting of it, the actual, but the original script is just like, that is phenomenal. I still haven't seen anything like it. I'm just like, that is phenomenal. And so it has a bit of space before and after it, of some action things beforehand, and then fighting all the Smiths afterwards. And you're like, okay. But that period was just like, the amount of mad, crazy thing that's happening with the dynamic of fighting, it has a psychosocial equivalent of sensitivity to what's being said. As exaggerated as the action scenes of the drama with the car bike scene with the motorway, I mean, just like, I haven't seen anything like that. There's what? And there are camera shots underneath through, the wheel, between the wheels, underneath a van, a truck. Segues into other normal perspectives. You're just like, the actions, it's just phenomenal. And then it shows the reflection of people going, oh, that's amazing. The whole thing is just so freaking tight, okay, and full, to bursting, turgid, all right, with action. And then you go, oh, boring little conversations. No! Do you look at those conversations? They are absolutely tight, okay, completely turgid. All right, with sensitivity to temporal and psychological processes. Okay, Reloaded is better than the first film. Really? If you interpret it and you place it, you bring your lights to it, and you go, is this actually how conversations work? Is this a temporal thing? Oh my God, I think it is! Okay. And so I was amazed. And then, the third one's come out. And then I didn't get it very much. So I still don't. And I've watched it several times, and I've gone, okay, so what did they do? And basically they just say, fuck that. Fuck all the conversations. Fuck it all. It's all rubbish. And I go,
I think we've missed something.
It's a bit like Joker 2. They just go, fuck that story. Fuck it all. And everybody goes, oh no, it's not like the first one. It's like, I was identifying with the character. I want the,
That's the thing with sequels, isn't it? People have an expectation.
Right. And okay, so there are some people that we call them brave because they break out of it.
Yeah, and they do something different. They do something quite original or controversial even, or provocative. Or,
that's it. It's provocative, it's controversial because it's breaking something. Okay, and that's what we're doing.
A cycle of expectation and a cycle of almost need to see something of the same or be comfortable with it or to know what happens to something in the end or
that's what you're doing
kind of needs.
With that story that I was producing. What's happening? It's a bit of a mystery. And at the end of it, it's just like, nope, you're wrong. You're just hunting for something. So you don't have to do that anymore. There's no point. And you went, that's very unsatisfying. Exactly. Okay? It's a risk, isn't it? And that's what we're doing. People are saying, okay, let's get into orbit. That was really good. Okay, who are you folks? And we're just like, who are you? No, it's about you. What's the next thing? You. Whatever you produce. And that'll be like, no, come on, just feed me more. I need to consume more. I want to orbit whatever you're doing. Well, there is a global thing that we're part of. Are you aware of that? And that's part of it. And the ones that are interested in change agents, they're already trying to do that. And that's a different dynamic. To go from whatever they're orbiting, where the world changed, to ours is tricky.
But
for normal people,
capable of doing it, aren't they? Because if you think about it, the analogy with films and things, animations that have sequels designed more as for children, although for adults to some extent, are very much building on the character or plot or storyline of something. But then with children, they like that security and safety and that understanding. But with adults, we have got the capacity to see something different, experience something different. We just need to be open to that and
Right.
receptive to that.
And that means bring yourself a bit more. Bring yourself a bit more. Bring yourself a bit more. And that means your social context that you're in. Oh. So the more you do that, the more we are kind of like leaning into you, where
And
you
have
are.
that comfortability in yourself and that confidence in yourself and being self-assured and being kind of having insights and being willing to share those with other people.
Right. In your social context, with your family, with your friends, and most importantly, probably your work.
So being present with people as well.
That's it. Now, within certain circumstances, that's very difficult. So we have to alter those conditions around you. You have to, and we have to help. Alter the conditions around you so that you are free, and you are free, we are free, and our children are free, and we end up living in a world where we're free. And we are beholden to each other every day. We are waking up today together. Okay, and it's like a celebration. We don't know if tomorrow is going to occur, but definitely today we are. Okay, we do have plans, and we can see, we're planting seeds, and they're being planted, and crops should be turning up pretty soon, and we can see all the things, and we're going to go to Mars, and we can do all the incredible things, but we're not beholden to any organisation. There is nothing living beyond the natural living and us. Okay, the machines are not living, even though it's going to get complicated with AI. Holy crap. Okay, but hopefully if we get it right, we're being respectful for the presence that exists on a daily basis, right now. Okay, and that, there's a lot of strength and stability there, but it involves no organisations whatsoever. Oops. Okay, we're still committed to the school and the electricity and getting certain things to happen and build things, but it's not that we're locked into them and we have to, and then we've paid and then we just do some entertainment. The contract is not like that. We're doing these things because you want to do them, and because there are certain things that need to be done, and the dispersal of funds and whatever it is and resources is more distributed equally. So, but that is going to take a generation to get to. Okay, so what do we do from now? And all we can do is strengthen our relationality. I think other people produce some things. People engage, but it's in their engagement we transform. Anyway, so it's not quite the same as what most people do. So can we do it? I don't know. So,
well, that's an aspect of it, isn't it? It's experimenting, it's developing, it's growing, it's sharing, it's seeing what the results were with that, and then reviewing it and evolving and improving, whatever word you want to use it, but going forwards with it.
Well,
with the focus and clarity that we've got.
And I've got some structures, and we're going for 3 iterations. Yeah, that's what our plan is. We're doing that, and it would be nice if we could work out what's the first iteration. We haven't even worked that out yet. No. What is a thing that can take 3 months? Okay, a potential realization, and then fail, and then okay, let's try again with the things that we've learned and improve. So, transforming the people we know. That's tricky. The only way that I think I can engage my old friends, people I grew up with, people that are part of me, my brother, literally, I've got aspects of me that I just took the shape of my brother, all right? And for better or for worse. And the only way I can engage him is by bringing something that can change what he's doing. Bring attention to his work, his life's work, his writing. So, fantastic book, share it. And we do it in this way, and it's successful. And they're making a film of it. And that'd be great. And he's 63 now, alright?
Yeah.
So, to spend 43 years, it's a lot of time committed to some things, and for what he's done and how he's done it and everything, it's just like incredible. It just doesn't quite fit in certain ways because he's gay, and things haven't caught up, and there's companies and structures can't risk certain big films based on gay characters.
Still.
I think
Wow.
so. Yeah. I mean, when do you see that in a major sci-fi?
That's awful, isn't
Look, right. So, now they're putting black people everywhere. Okay, fine. Okay. Right, what about gay people? Oh, yeah. But as primary characters. Yes, but then it's it's not one of the blockbusters. The ones that they're spending 200 million on. And so there's something... Okay, so... but is the time now? Yeah, of course there is. Can we produce it? Of course we can. Okay, are there enough people that would be interested? Yes. Okay, but the trouble is, it's going through the process of people making decisions in companies. And that, they're saying no, currently. And so we're saying... So if I could come up, and I do have the mechanism, it could work right now, but he's not listening to me, and he can't do it, and I don't have enough influence to be able to share his stuff. But if that was proven, and it was working, then he'd go, then he would be able to do it. Of course. Yeah. So I'd love that. And my other friends who've been working at university or working with health, mental health, and kids and so on and so forth, I'd be able to go and say, right, what are you trying to do? What did you not manage to do? Or Wendy, what did you not manage to do? Why? Okay, well, why don't we try that? And, for people who are retiring, it's a bit tricky because they just want freedom. But the ones that are still locked in, they can go, oh, wait a minute, I'm retiring soon. Maybe I can have a bit of flexibility here, especially if I can pay them, in effect, to try the things before they retire. And so the only way I think I could do that is by supplying money. The security. It's sad.
Whereas I think differently, I don't think like that.
You don't think that way, but you go and engage them. You can engage the people you've engaged as a colleague and email them and see what response you get. When you don't even get response for people to come here and help pack. Okay, so you go. Okay, come on. I want to hear this. I want to hear this level of complete innocence. Okay, as you can tell, I'm a little critical because I know this about my own life, my own family, and my own friends, and I've had to deal with it over the years. But Julie's got a nice version of it.
It's not saying that. It's not saying we've
well,
got a nice version or a better version.
Okay.
You've been having these relationships with people for decades and trying different...
Well, no, I haven't. That's the point. I haven't had a relationship with these people for decades. These are my old friends that, formed me decades ago, and they couldn't quite accept what I was producing back then. And I had to go, okay, I'll go and find some other people. I think I'm going to fail to do that, but okay, I'll give it a go. And I have not been able to produce the results for them yet. Okay, because the nature of the problem involves bringing ourselves. And I can't even bring my friends, my family with me, So, and that's one of the big things. Have you got your family? Have you got friends? Have you got people with you? No. Why? The nature of the thing is very challenging. It's definitely, this happens in homes and with friends. It is not happening through companies. It happens as an effect to companies. All right? I think it can happen simultaneously, okay? So I've tried to do it. But the essential thing is bring yourself. And yourself is a thing that is defined before companies. It's the thing that it is formed of your family. That's what it is. So if we're not at that level with each other, bringing ourselves, it's going to be a little bit challenging. Okay, I've tried to avoid that level, but that's what we're doing now. We're experimenting with it is into the level of a spiritual, the family. It's in that space. Sorry. Okay, which is the cult, which is the religion, which is they call people brothers and sisters. It's in that space, but there is no religion. Okay, there is no cult. There is no boundary to accept. It is simply, can we practice these things? And one of the things is we're kind of like, the equivalent of the practices we're kind of more like siblings.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me that I've learned over the last however months, 6 months, 5 months, and the thing that pops up, and the thing that you've mentioned as well, is that whole idea of social validation and social experience. So I think for me that's my kind of main focus and main kind of thing to share and feel that's that.
Brilliant. But we didn't manage to get a lot of iterative social validation. We didn't manage to get much because the one-on-ones we do quite well, little small, but we never got to a group where that was proven. And so And now we're going to intensify our engagement, produce a few things, and most of it's virtual. So I don't know if we'll be able to get that social validation. I think the attempt is probably going to, can we get a viral? Can we work with somebody that produces some content or a charity or something that goes viral?
And also doing the sharing forwards and...
The sharing forwards to go viral.
Yeah. So I see it more in that context, I guess, rather than giving someone money to free them to do something, because...
Oh, that's later. That's a consequence.
Yeah, I can't see that as
no, that's not going to happen this year.
Viral.
But what we were doing is meeting people in the real world and seeing if we can get a bunch of people together, like an action cycle. And I think that's a higher chance, because if we're real and we're together, to get that level of social iteration, that they go away and go, that was interesting. It's undeniable, that was an interesting experience. And it's not based on the tool or us. It's based on their participation, engaging people. Okay.
And I can understand the perspective of temporarily engaging with, or the temporal realism of retirement, or going to retire, or having retired, or looking forward to retirement. But for me, I don't look at things in that terms, either rightly or wrongly. That's not, it's about where someone is at that point when that becomes true, and that I can share that, and they become more likely to actively engage, and then going forwards, I don't.
Oh, that's returning back to the thing.
So I don't see it in that. I just don't. I think your kind of what you've just said and your kind of frames of reference, I can understand, but for me, I don't. I see. I suppose just a little bit of
of course,
a starting point.
Well, that's because of your relationships and how you've worked professionally and so on and so forth, and the whole notion of outside and money and whatever the combination is. And so, yes, I mean, I think
that might be something someone brings to me or says to me at some point, and then I'll deal with that, or not deal with it very well. I don't know. Deal with that then, but it's not something that's on my mind now about those things. Although I understand in terms of the temporal nature of things and kind of aging and age groups and everything, the people who are they're going to be 15 years, 10 years older than me will have got that, and I know some people that are in that kind of range of age, but it's not what I'm just.
I know it's not what you're doing, but most people are.
Okay? No, it's not necessarily what I'm doing. It's not my.
Yeah, but you have worked. How long have you worked?
No, but I don't. What I'm saying is, in terms of the financial aspect of things, the forefront of my mind isn't about the state of where they are in terms of retiring or not retiring or whatever it might be, because that's whatever it might be for that individual.
Yes.
When the actual social experiences and social validation and everything else is in fruition and has those aspects of action, will be when that meets that person. So I don't think about individuals' financial aspects that way.
Not relative to the machinery of thought that currently people are operating, but more just like the person that's there and the opportunity of thought, whatever experience that we're having at that moment.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But we have to be aware. That person's over there. And so when they come to us in that machine, and they're not even aware they're bringing that machine, that's what we fall, because we get drawn into that machine. Or at some point or other, they're going, oh, this is quite interesting, and then clamp. The machine part of their brain closes down. And it's just like, that was painful, and we need to have the confidence to reinforce the light to brightness and everything else, so that they go, oh, okay, I thought there was something, okay, and they open up again.
Yeah.
And it's welcome back. The machine just swallowed you there for a second.
But I think that's why I'm trying to focus on that more than thinking about that element of things.
That's fine, and that's what you should be doing, but you need to work with me to reinforce that, because it's between us. It is not in you, and it's not in me, it's definitely between us, as a social object, as other people listen. Okay, and so it'll become more obvious when there's 3 people, and then there's 4 people. It becomes more obvious that anybody watching is like, oh, wait a minute, and it's the number of people observing an individual or a relationship. That's the thing that has the most power. I.e. the receptive state. And so we've got tools, whatever, to enable that so that we self-organise just a little bit more efficiently than what we've got right now. Okay, now we've got a year to pull this off, and we've got 3 iterations, maybe 4 attempts to pull that off without having to work. Although you've got a little bit, I have to do my tutoring. It's like, okay, only do it if you're doing it in the right way, so that you're not bringing that machinery with you. Okay, and I will do the same. And we're going into shops and we're buying stuff, but we're doing it in a way that's like, okay, minimal kind of required, but the space that we're creating is not there. It also means that with people we're engaging, your friends and my friends, okay, or the people that I've had reasonably strong relationships with,
and relatives, yeah.
Okay, and relatives. It's who we are and how we are and stuff like that. There's challenging aspects to them. It's not just somebody we meet and they can agree or disagree or go away or that's the bit that is going to be our forefront, and they have to make that decision, and we need to just retain the strength of what we're doing. Okay, and they come in, they like it,
And
stay. They don't like it, go away. Fine.
Exactly,
okay, that's not our problem. Their standards, it doesn't fit. They don't like the film. They don't like Reloaded. It's not because it's the first. They don't like this because they thought it was that. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. There was some stuff. Reinforce the thing, and they just know that we are doing something consistently, and getting that to happen is what we're attempting to do.
Yeah.
Now, this all goes with our friends and the people that we know, and that's where we got the hiccup today. But we'll see how it goes, and we shall see what happens. This is 1 hour, and this is day 3. Lot of talk, yeah. Hopefully you're going to see something like a book at some point, or go, I've got a book. Oh, okay, great. Oh, I've got a story. Oh, I've got a game. It's like, oh, wow.
But hopefully the talk is meaningful and is a call to action in different ways.
Not if anybody, yes, to an extent, but if nobody ever sees this, then is it because we didn't produce the results? This is not the result. Okay? If we do not produce the result, then this is nothing. It's just a chat in a bubble on some hard drive that nobody ever sees. Is that true?
You said this was to be kind of a reflective process, so people can reflect on what we're going through and how we're doing it, and therefore...
Is that truth I've just described true?
What's truth? What truth?
We don't produce any results, so nobody ever comes back and sees this. That's a truth.
Yeah.
Right?
That could be, yeah. That's
You
possible.
see the probabilities and everything else? But if we forget about the fact it's if, and that's the actual thing that happens, this is a waste of time.
Yes.
Right.
Except that it is part of our... if ultimately it leads to no results, and we haven't learned through, or the learnings of the process haven't contributed to any change or transformation of others, then yes, it would be.
Right.
But if through the process and the learning of it, it does lead to some transformation
That's
and
good
change
too.
of others.
That's good too.
That's good.
Okay, but the only thing that we can do is, did we perform well?
Okay, but who judges the well?
Us.
Right.
Are we getting better at something?
Right.
So the next one. Are we stabilising something between us so that the something gets stronger, so that by the 10th one or whatever, it hasn't got flabby, it's got tauter.
Yeah, which is part of the whole... Well,
how? See, that's the bit I want. And if it isn't, and it's flabby, okay, that's the reality. The reality is that it's flabby, in which case this is a waste of time.
Yeah, so it needs to be kind of evolving, I guess. I don't know what word I want to use.
The result...
It needs to be a green shoot that's growing, not a green
Okay,
shoot
one is just the effect
or...
of people watching something, or we produce something.
Yeah.
Right. One is that people are watching and they share forwards.
Yeah.
Another one is we produce something in the future that people share forwards and there's lots of people, and therefore people come back.
Yeah.
And the other one is none of that happens, and what happens is just us. The fact is we have engaged better, so therefore we can produce something that's got a higher quality,
so
and that has a higher chance of something.
Yeah, so each of us has a responsibility to ensure that's taking place.
Yeah, and so are we improving?
And
is
each
there
of us is accountable to ensure that's
happening during the actual engagement?
Yeah.
Right.
In the present.
In the present. Okay. And so over an hour, because you can't do everything at the moment. So it's like, have we covered certain structures? Have we engaged people in the appropriate way? Have we addressed people in the appropriate way? Are we engaging each other in the appropriate way? And are we checking that we're containing that within each and every one?
Right, yeah.
And at some point or
That's
other, somebody has to do an analysis and go, okay, look, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're not doing the other thing. AI would be useful at some point. But,
That's not a bad idea.
is there... We have a little checklist. It's like, have
So
we
there's
done
certain
this?
demands that we're putting on ourselves within this process.
Right.
To in order to make it purposeful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of it is just psychological. We can't even touch that. We just have to somehow or other induce it in ourselves. But there are other things that we can definitely go, all right, have we done this? Have we done that? At the relational level.
Yeah.
Okay, blah, 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 blah. And at the social level, have we set this up technically that somebody can do that? Okay. So there's a range there. Okay. And so far, the technical... We had recorded them, but this one is on a computer and I've put this on, so it's a bit of a hassle.
Well, this is a reflection on the microphone and the whole aspect of the visual.
Yeah, we'll see if this works. Even if the audio works. Might not. Imagine that. Okay, but it's an ongoing process, but that's the minimum. The minimum is, are we bringing ourselves? Okay, and get a little bit more resolution on what that means and how we're relating to other people here. If we get that bit, and it's natural that we're doing that, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
If we can get really good at that. It means if anybody interviews us, the way we're talking with this other person is just different. It's qualitatively different. People just go, okay, they're talking in a way which is a bit unusual, but it's relating strongly, and it appears to be true.
And those kind of conversations, that kind of engagement will have burgeoned out of what we are doing with this.
Yeah, but it's yes, hopefully, but I'm saying that we need to make sure that that's the case. So at some point, if this is like a training exercise, if we were ever on any show, anywhere, anybody interviewing us at a podcast or anywhere, that's our default status. And we're doing it so simply and so elegantly and so minimally because we've got other things to talk about. But because those cues are in there, it means that people get this kind of, and before you know it, they're just like, something happened there. That's the magic. They don't quite know what, but we're doing it because we basically practiced and trained to do this well. Yeah? That the agency is theirs.
Yeah.
Well, bring that on. That's what I say. It's going to be a bit tricky, yeah. Holding ourselves accountable to this. Okay. All right, we good?
Yeah.
We're good.